Kenny Bob. We are covering the trial of Ynw Melly in South Florida. This Florida rapper is accused of shooting and killing Anthony Williams, also known as Ynw Sack Chaser, and Christopher Thomas Jr., also known as Ynw Juvi, in 2008. Well, Thomas's father was interviewed by our very own Anjanette Levy. Let's listen as he tells us how he's been coping with his son's death and how his family is handling this trial so far.
Chris was a good kid. He's the second of my oldest boys. He's the oldest of his mom's kids, and he loved his whole family. He loved all his friends, and he just got caught up for being too loyal and got betrayed by one of his so-called friends. It's a sad situation for everybody. I met Melly around like 99, like a couple years before Chris met her. I was friends with his Melly's mom, best friend at the time, and that's how I got to know Melly. Then Chris got to know him after that. They was all good kids coming up, just laughing, playing, joking with each other, having fun, like to hang out with each other, and he loved them boys, and he loved them to a fault.
So he was friends with them since they were little kids then, it sounds like.
Yes, man. They went to elementary, middle school, high school, all together. That's how I know his mom as well, and his stepdad, and the rest of his family, Melly's family. And the music started, I think, around 2000, maybe 13.
And they were just all making the music together?
Yes. Started from rapping at school until making music together and coming up with the name, the Ynw, and just went from there. And Sack and Chris and Melly and even Jay Green was all founder members of the Ynw. Melly was just the face of it. I say now that Chris and Anthony is gone, now he just took everything. From the day one, I believe that Melly was responsible for my son's death on October 26th when I first heard the story, because his explanation, when I finally talked to him in Cortland on a FaceTime, their response and how they was reacting, they showed no remorse. They didn't act like they was grieving, like they lost a best friend or nothing. They was, in my opinion, they was in the best spirits. They never came to town, never came to my son's funeral, never came to Sack's funeral. And these are best friends. He passed straight through the county of Indian River, went to Brevard, and did a music video, but he couldn't even stop and pay his condolences to his best friend's mom. He even got Jana tatted on his neck. That's why his defense attorney got him wearing turtlenecks and shirts to hide his neck, because he got Jana tatted on his neck. That's Sack's mom's name, and he got Chris' name and Sack's name. And this guy, that guy is just, I have no words for that guy. Nothing was said, actually, like the demeanor. It was like the body language, really. Like I was just reading them, and as I'm telling them and asking them questions, I got so emotional, I started crying. They wasn't reacting to, they act like they didn't have to take a loss at all. That's how I took it. And then when I was talking to them, I still had in the back of my mind that something's not right. Something's not right.
Did they tell you anything about what they claimed happened with the drive-by they claim happened?
No, they had absolutely no explanation. Like, we have to figure it out just like the police.
Chris, why do you think that this happened? Why do you think, Melly did this? Because, Melly is on trial. The state has to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt that he committed these crimes. But why do you think this happened?
I think the story about the $200,000 with Anthony was a true story because it's not reported, but Chris told me the same story, and also it was a $500,000 play, and Melly was going to get $200,000, Sack was going to get $200,000, Chris was going to get $100,000. And as I'm hearing it from Chris, they was going to sell the Ynw brand, not a record deal or nothing like that. It was like for the brand itself, and by them being founding members, they was going to get a piece of the pie. So I don't think Melly did it on his own. I think that manager guy got in his ear and did a little divide and conquer, because it was up to Sack. It would never be a 100K management.
They were going to sell the Ynw name for licensing or to deep. Sell products. Or what do you mean they were going to sell the name?
For marketing, licensing, stuff like that. I think they want to go up on the big umbrella just to push them, I think. push the brand more global. That's what I'm thinking.
And so you think that Melly wanted a bigger cut of that then?
I think Melly didn't want to give them guys nothing. He wanted to be the only one to shine. And then they came to town next day and gave the mothers $15,000, the other mother $10,000. So I thought to myself, if Sack was going to get $200,000, Chris was getting $100,000. If we could pay these people $25,000 and keep $275,000, that's how I saw it. It just nothing added up. And Melly's still to this day for me to hear him call them boys his best friend is an insult. That was an insult. Not with Juvie, not with Chris, but you heard things about him and Anthony getting into like altercations about disputes about money over certain situations, and they got in a fight prior to that, and they said like. You know the story that they say Sack beat him up and knocked his goals out in front of his girlfriend, and like
damn.
2 days later, I think that's when the incident happened. Yes.
This shit go deep.
Chris and Courtland share a sister, and she's my daughter. Her and Chris had the same dad, which is me, and her and Courtland share the same mom. And she took the side of Melly. She still to this day screams Free Melly all on her Facebook, Instagram. She'll go live with Free Melly shirts, and they just got her brainwashed with the money. They just showered her with gifts and Courtland and got my daughter just brainwashed to the fact that she wishing the killer of her brother was free. I just don't understand that.
Wow, and let me bring my guest back in to talk about this with me today.